Yay!
It
Hello!
worked. Hello.
We did it! Hello, welcome to our Dungeon Master Deep Dive. I'm Tara, founder of D&D and the Castle, and this is Vee Mus'e, one of our wonderful Dungeon Masters, we're so happy joining us today to talk about some exciting things coming up, especially our first ever all-female D&D Weekends event. So Vee has lovelily agreed to be our dungeon master for all of the women who want to come and play D&D in a female environment for fun. So, Vee, tell us a little bit about what excited you about this particular event and why you wanted to come and be our dungeon master.
I have had the joy of running games for a group of gal pals, and it has always been such a fun dynamic. So when you all approach me about like, hey, would you entertain the idea of doing this for the castle, but have people come and sit at the table? I'm like, oh, absolutely, yes, please. Because there's just something so unique about being able to sit down with a bunch of people who have very similar mindsets and very similar ways of playing. And it gets to be extremely immersive, and the outside of the box thinking is incredible. And the laughter is truly infectious whenever I play with my gal pals. So that's what I'm looking forward to bringing to this experience and at the table for this particular weekend for sure.
That's a lot of fun. So you're running this event in March. I'm just reminding myself of the dates. If you I just realized I didn't make a note of the dates, but it
The
is
when?
in March.
Yes.
Which for me, I live in Canada, so I live in the prairies of Canada, where it is very warm. March 13th to 16th. I've just been reminded
Mhm.
are the dates. So that's over a weekend, which is why it's called D&D Weekends. And
Mhm.
it is in Georgia, in the south, near Atlanta, at a lovely lakeside retreat on Lake Sinclair in Georgia. So one of the lovely things is that it will not be frozen. It will not be sub-zero and covered in snow. So if you're from my neck of the woods, even in March, which may seem late to some people, it is still great to escape to a nice warm place where you can walk outside and out onto the pier. So this is a weekends event. Now, you've been a dungeon master with us at D&D in the Castle several
Yeah.
times. You've
Yeah.
run games there. What's your prediction? How do you think it's going to be different doing this as a weekends event? For those who don't know, a weekends event is just one table. It's just one game, one
Yeah.
dungeon master, up to 6 players for a weekend. In a basically a large house on the lake, just like tucked away, rolling dice. So how do you think that's going to be different?
I think this was gonna feel more like, getting to play with friends in a way because it's a little less of the structured and planned events that kind of go around the scheduled times and everything, so we'll have a little bit more sort of freedom to sit and play together, and it's one of those things where it's like, "Hey, y'all wanna move to a different room and just kinda change the scenery and change the vibe," and just being able to pick up and go and do. So I have a feeling it's gonna have more of that truly intimate feel to it. Because even though the castle itself, you still have that intimate experience, you're still involved with. I mean, I've been there where it's been anywhere from 6 DMs to 13. So it kinda changes the tone of the interactions and what everyone's doing. So I'm really looking forward to kinda being the one, giving everyone this, story to follow along with and build together, and we can all just get right into it. And there's no, like, getting distracted or worrying about, well, what are the people gonna say if they see me doing this with my group? Because it won't matter. It's just you're at the table, you're, in the
Mhm.
moment, and you get
Yeah,
to
you're
play it
kind of
out
full
together.
control. Yeah.
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 And it is just a little shorter. It's one day shorter than the castle. It's sort of two full days instead of the 3 full
Yeah.
days. How is it playing in that kind of format where you're just all together? How does it, where you're all together? It's kind of back to back. You've got big gaps between the sessions. Everyone's there for every session. You're outside of your normal life. These are kind of features that are the same in D&D and the
Mhm.
castle and in the weekends. So, what is it like running a game in that kind of structure?
It's easy to get lost in the game itself. Like, I find myself, even as a DM, getting more connected to the PCs and the NPCs. Like, I can honestly say every single time I've run a table at the castle events, the players have made me cry for various reasons. And they've come up with some really, really cool ideas because they've gotten so involved and they're so in the thick of it that they're devoted to what's going on and they're invested in the decisions that their characters are making and how the characters are interacting with each other. And it's really cool to see play out that way, as opposed to getting those breaks or there seem to be a lot more meta moments when you have those breaks at the
Mm,
table. Like, okay, so I play a game once a week with a bunch of buddies, and it's absolutely so much fun. But I find like we kind of hash things out together between sessions. So you
mm,
have a little bit more premeditated factors going into how you play. Whereas with the
mm.
castle experience and the weekend experience, like there's some true gut reactions that further
Right.
enhance what happens because people are like, I can't believe I just did that. I'm like, I'm so glad you just did that because it makes things really cool and exciting that way.
Kind of ups the spontaneity and the
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
the immediacy
Yeah.
of the reactions. That's
Yeah, and
that's
people
really
get
cool.
lists in their head and worried about stuff, like, they're just kinda like, "I'm
Mm.
gonna do it." I'm like, "Cool, awesome,
Yeah,
let's
it's
do it."
now or never kind of, yeah, yeah. And yes, the cats are gonna make an
I
appearance.
said
We knew they would. You warned me before
uh-huh,
we
I
got
said,
on
"There's
it.
gonna be cats." There's 3 of them, so we had 1 sighting already.
So there are no cats at the cabin, or cabin, I call it a cabin because that's what we call it in Canada, even though it's like a huge house.
Uh,
But
no
what
comment.
is your game that you're going to be? What can you tell us without too many spoilers?
Oh,
Tease us,
not a problem.
V. Tell us all of the fun
Tease.
things that the
Okay,
players are going to do
so
it at the
I'm
weekends.
actually bringing back a homebrew that I created for the first castle that I did, because I was doing one
Hmm.
shots the first castle that I did with you all. So I'm bringing back Baby's Place, which is basically you're meeting this interesting woman. She's a proprietor of this, place called Baby's Place, and upon arrival, you realize that you're not only not in a different, land, you're in a different plane, essentially, is how it plays out. And I kind of run these as and this is the reason why I decided to go back to this because of the whole girls' weekend, women's weekend type of situation. You kind of find yourself in this almost murder she wrote, Golden Girls, facts of life esque type of vibes going on. So you get to meet all these various NPCs and play through stuff and run into some interesting situations. So it's a lot of working together as a team, talking things through, figuring out some stuff like some mysteries as well, and getting down to what's really going on behind the scenes. And it's always been such a joy to run this because this has been my go-to, whether it's for one shots, mini campaigns, or that type of thing. It's been my go-to homebrew because so many people have encountered this place as players and they've enjoyed it so much. Like people are saying, I want to get invited back to BB's. I'm like, say the word, just come back over. It'll be totally fun. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm excited to bring it back to the table for sure.
Yeah, I remember when you ran that back in, I
Yeah.
think it was 2022 or
20
2019.
no, it was
2019.
19. It
It
was
was 19,
19.
yeah. 2019 at
Ah,
D&D the Castle in the
yeah.
UK before the world ended. Um,
You also when the castle got seized on us, remember that? Because I remember
Yeah,
being like, "Ooh, let's get
I have
we don't have a
not
castle."
forgotten in any way, the
Yep.
adventures we've had together, Bea, and,
Yeah.
you were such a trooper. We just rolled with the punches, and, everybody was
Exactly.
amazing, that
Yeah. It
season,
was a
and
good
I
crew. It was a really
it
great
was an
crew.
amazing crew. For those who don't know, back in 2019, we had our castle go under, the week before our event
Yeah.
in the height of high season in July, in the middle of everything. So we had to find a new venue, and our DMs just rolled with it, and our guests were
Yep,
absolute champs, and we had
they were.
absolute blast. It was like a
It
real
was
life
so
D&D
fun.
quest in some
Yeah.
ways.
It really
It was
was.
also
Like, it had, like, that
exciting.
blend of, like, luxury, but also summer
Also
camp,
chaos.
and then just yeah, it was an incredible experience for sure. But yeah, so I'm bringing back, BB's Place for this weekend.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a lot of fun
yeah.
to do.
We had such
Plus, I have,
good.
like, minis and maps and stuff I can well, some minis because I have to take a plane. So I'm gonna bring some of my minis and some of the maps that I had created back way back when to bring it back for the weekend. So we have, like, a nice easy way to kinda see the layout of everything together.
Cool. And you played that as a one shot at D&D in a
Yeah.
Castle. And I remember you had the hat, you had the outfit, we
Oh,
got
yeah.
such good feedback about how much people enjoyed your game. Has it like that was as a one shot? How is it different as a full campaign that's going to take 2 days to run?
It's grown on itself because of how many people have played, this particular setting now. Like, there are PC characters who've become NPCs, and there's lore and stories that are far more enmeshed in the environment now, so I can tap into, they go into this particular room, they're gonna meet this particular NPC, and they have this story because of things that have happened in previous games. So it's sort of like
Right.
a, almost like a
Almost like a
metaverse
legacy
in a way.
game.
Yeah,
Feels
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and the
so
people who
it
play it
also like
too love
I
it.
can see a question right now. It's tying back to one of the games. It was a charity game that I did when the question is, will you be able to sneak a TARDIS into the game? I think the TARDIS has left the building for this particular weekend, but that was a fun thing to do. Everyone jokes around how it's sort of got like this timey-wimey feel to it. So I did a tongue-in-cheek joke for a charity event, and Doctor Who and the TARDIS were in one of the rooms. Was the end result, and they had a great time with it. Yeah.
Love that. So if people have
So
seen seen you run this game, are they going to have spoilers, or is it going to like does that matter?
no, it basically it shifts every single time that I do it. It's something new, something different each time, which is why I enjoy it too, because it's basically an environment that I lived in my head in for so long, and I go back to that. It's kind of one of those
Mhm.
things. Like I'll have bullet points planned up, like, oh, it'd be cool for them to encounter this, and cool them to encounter that, and get that all collected together. But I really feed off more of what the players are bringing to the table
Mhm.
and what they're reacting to. It's like, okay, so you're liking this. Let's really steer into this now. Oh, you want more of that? Well, then we'll go over here and do more of that now. So it kind of grows on itself as we play. So it's different every single time.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's kind of a you spent so much time in it and you're so comfortable with it, you can kind of just
Yeah.
relax and not worry too
Yeah.
much about whether it goes where you want it to or that you're gonna not have something built or planned,
Mhm.
like then it's not complete. They can just kind of explore and play and have fun, which is kind of what this kind of
Yeah.
event is all about. In terms of it
Yeah.
being a dungeon master, in terms of like your general style, what is exploration a big part of your games? Like, what's your favorite kind of game? Would you say?
I love an RP heavy game with smatterings of encounters, whether they are, using your brains to get out of the situation or using your brawn to get out of the situation. I'm all for either scenario, but I like having everyone feed off of what they're picking up on in the conversations with each other and with the NPCs and with the surroundings that they are coming across. And I mean, the last table that I did this past summer, I jokingly wanted to bring in a ball of red yarn because they had turned into such a, if this, then that, and they added such
Right.
complexity to it. It was fantastic. I'm like, this is
Some
not the
pins.
angle I thought it was going to go to, but you keep doing this because I'm loving what you're giving me to work off of. So yeah, I like being able to adjust to what the players are bringing to the table because I find it's even more entertaining that way as opposed to just like I've come in with my campaign and this is what we're going to do. It's like no, I want to see what you're going to do with what's put in front of you, and we'll take it from there. Is really how I like to do it. Yeah.
And do you bring, you have a crafting background and a half. Do you bring are you planning to bring a lot of stuff, immersive kind of, I know you
Um,
like to do that. Is this going to be a time people can
I'm
enjoy?
going to bring some of the minis that I've painted specifically for this campaign. So they'll make an appearance. There are some maps that I have made in the past that I'm going to be bringing back with me. And if I can find them, there might be a couple of props I'll bring along too.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
And um, your game, have you played it at this kind of length before? Because I know you've done it as a one shot before. Have you run it as a campaign before?
I've run it as a mini campaign, which kind of works itself out to be about the number of hours we'll be playing. So I've done it where it's been 6 episodes long and they were 3-hour episodes. So it's been comparable too.
Cool.
Um,
So people are definitely going to finish. So
oh
just
yeah.
want to put that out there
Oh
because
yeah.
like, but
No,
without running out of material. At the
yeah, it's
same
not
time.
gonna be
I
something
don't
like
think
where it's like,
anyone runs out of material. I think that's a myth. I
no.
don't know.
I
I've never
honestly
heard
have
of
yet to meet a DM where they're like, I don't know what to do. Sorry,
that.
everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's not gonna be an issue.
As a dungeon master, how did you get into this? Is a deep dive into V as well as into your game, which we've been talking a lot about. But is for you as a dungeon master, how did you get into being a dungeon master? What drew you to D&D?
D&D was something I have sort of always flirted with, but didn't realize it because for full transparency, Italian Roman Catholic, which meant I didn't know what D&D was until I was well out of like high school and into college type of stuff. However, a lot of the books that I used to read as a kid were fantasy-based books, so that was like my little escapism. And then it was also starting to play various video games like Baldur's Gate and Champions of Norath was another way to kind of like start feeding into it without realizing that was happening. And then I got pulled into playing later on in life. And it was just one of those things where I was like, wait, this is like this is like kind of like a mix of like when you're kids and you're playing make believe, but then you're also putting in all these really cool dynamics so that there's ways to kind of not control the story, but things affect the story. So that's what kind of hooked me because it was that mixture of the storytelling and the dice rolls and the chance and the lore that went along with it was really cool too. So that's what pulled me in. Little by little, they sucked me in.
And tell me a bit of some of the cool things you've done as a dungeon master before. We mentioned you dungeon mastered at D&D in a castle. You were involved in a charity stream. Tell us about some of the other things that you've
Well,
brag about
um,
yourself and all your many accomplishments.
oh God. Okay, so I've had the pleasure of working with a couple of groups, Cobalt Press especially. I've been the dungeon master for a couple of campaigns. I did a campaign that ran for 2 seasons called The Last Heir, which was the Tales of the Old Margrave, which was totally my bread and butter style campaign because the Margrave Forest is very much like a fractured fairy tale, dark fairy tale type of setting. Baba Yaga is a crucial character there. And then I did their Scarlet Citadel as well as a mini campaign, that was a different vein. It was more of like a dungeon crawl. So that was a fun one to do. And then various mini campaigns for other groups, lots of charity events. I love doing, honestly, charity events are what I love doing, the one shots, just because it's like you get to have fun, but you also get to help out a great cause. So I've worked with the MS Society. I've worked with, I forget what their new acronym is now, but it was WAVA, which was a Canadian group for sexual and domestic abuse type of charity raising event type of thing. I'm not explaining it well because I'm trying to remember the new name right now. And then also got to be a player on Black Dice Society, which, B. Dave Walters, who is another D&D in a Castle DM, he was the DM for that, and I got to play Voronika, and it was revealed that she was actually the Dark Lord. So that was a lot of fun to play around with. And I've done a lot of behind the scenes too with productions of various actual plays and live streams. Legends of the Multiverse was something that I did for Wizards of the Coast and other various ones that are kind of floating around out there. So playing D&D, being involved in D&D, making sure these games happen, it is very much enmeshed in what I've been doing over the last X many years.
Very nice, very nice. I have a question here from our audience, which is, what was the most surprising solution to an encounter you've had a player come up with?
Okay, so this actually goes back to 2 summers ago. I was running, and I just mentioned Voronika, I was running this campaign set in Kashmar, which is her dread domain. And I had a plan A and a plan B, depending on how the players wanted to handle this in terms of who they were going to encounter and confront with their options. And I purposely left for the final session to basically be where they're going to do this. And it was lunch right before then. So all the players went upstairs for lunch. It was about an hour break. And I was just literally like updating my notes and resetting the scene and everything like that. And they came downstairs and they all looked very serious, like extremely serious. I was like, oh, they're ready. And so we start playing it out and we're like, okay, well, can we talk about what we're kind of thinking about doing and see if it would be possible? And one by one, they each explained how they were tapping into what their character could do and what they were hoping that what their character does could affect the outcome. And so between what they were coming up with, because it was so damn clever how it connected to each of their own characters, and the dice absolutely being on their side, we played out plan C, which I had not even planned on. And it ended up being a beautiful ending to a story that I didn't realize I also needed for this character. So yeah, it was fantastic to watch. And I don't want to give major details on it in case I want to run this again. But the way they're just like, no, yeah, we know there's an A and a B, but this is what we're doing. And it was just stunning. It was really so cool. And it was so well thought out on their part. And they did such a great job of thinking everything through and threading it together that it was just like, you know what? This has to happen. This absolutely has to happen because it's too good not to see it play out. So yeah, that was probably one of the most like, oh wow moments from when I was DMing. Yeah.
Cool. Do you do a lot of puzzles in your game, V? Some people are
Not so
really into
much.
that.
Yeah, like I'll throw in one here or there, but I think because for me, I'm not the biggest fan of puzzles. I'd rather not run them. Like I like doing riddles. That's always fun. I like kind of having people try and piece concepts together, but I don't want to have a puzzle that's sitting there and then becomes almost an impediment or a frustration.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, I lightly, graze across some puzzles, but I don't make them too in depth. Um, the one time where I definitely worked on some riddles was for the castle last summer, because that was where we did the proposal. So that was a lot of fun. We worked that into how the proposal was going to happen. So I was very happy to do that
That's very cool. So
one.
tell the listeners and the viewers about that because that's a really cool
Oh,
story.
so fun. Okay. So got the sweetest message. The player said, "Hey V, really excited. I have a question for you. You can say no." And I'm the type of person where I'm like, well, if you say that to me, I'm going to say yes. So what is it? So they told me how they wanted to hopefully work in a proposal into the game if it wouldn't be too much. Now, unbeknownst to them, this game actually was revolved around the concept of brides. So I'm like, lucky for you, this is not going to be a stretch for me at all. So worked together with them, and I basically sent the riddles ahead of time their way. I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Here are the answers so that you can help move it along. But basically, all the riddles revolved around love, ring, and marriage, so that it kind of set him up for getting the ring out of basically the vault that opened up from the party answering the questions correctly, and then doing the proposal. It was so sweet. It was so lovely. All the players except for the one being proposed to were in on it by that time, and it was really sweet, and it was so much fun, and made for a really fantastic memory for sure.
That's really cool. So an in-game proposal. That's really
Yeah.
fun. We had it at this last D&D in a Castle
I
in November.
saw.
We had a proposal and a
Uh-huh.
wedding.
And the wedding. And the wedding.
And
So
we've
there you
had
go.
honeymoons before as well, and I think there may have been another
There's
honeymoon.
been honeymoons and
And
anniversaries. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
mean, guess what, everyone? D&D and Castle is all about the love.
All about the love of all kinds. So
Yeah.
if you're just joining us or if you haven't figured out already, we're chatting with Vee Mus'e, who's our dungeon master for our upcoming girls game D&D Weekends event. So D&D Weekends are a smaller scale intimate event that we host for 3 days over a weekend. So you get to play 2 full days of D&D with all women at a private lake house on the lake shores of Lake Sinclair in Georgia. So if you're from a cold place like me, it sounds very appealing around March to go somewhere lovely and warm and humid because it's so dry. So we're
Humid.
just talking about about how much fun we're going to have and some of the fun that Vee has had with us at previous events where she's been a dungeon master at D&D in a castle. Yeah, so anything else you want to share about the game that you've got planned? What
The
makes it
only thing I want to
exciting
share
for the place?
is I think the thing that makes it exciting is because you really get to delve into your characters. Because I like getting people to think about why their characters do things and what would their character do in those situations. So that's a fun element I like to bring to the table. But also, I really enjoy it when it's players of all styles and of all experience. So if this is something like, well, I haven't really played D&D before or that much, please don't let that stop you, because I love it when new players come to the table, because quite frankly, new players are the ones who have some of the best ideas sometimes. You're like, "Oh, yes, let's do it." So yeah, don't feel like it's like, well, I've only played it a couple times, but this sounds like a lot of fun. Guess what? It will be. Come on over. Have fun. Join us. I
Yeah.
want to make sure it's definitely very clear. It's not something where you have to be like, well, I've been playing for 10 years. I'm like, "Mm-mm. No, I'm good if you've played for 10 hours. Let's do it. Come on."
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really good point because actually we get some new players, and this is
Yeah.
like I just want to add to that because such a good point that this is the not only is like yes you're welcome, it's not a problem, like this is the best place to learn
Yeah.
how to read. I'm gonna up that my promo by one, which is that you're never gonna be in this. It's unlikely, I'll say, that you're gonna be in such a immersive and sustained environment with people who are as excited as this to teach you about D&D. It's not like, oh, you're hijacking their one time a week that they're able to play. This is like,
Yeah.
they're here to take you on an adventure and to go on an adventure together. And honestly, my experience has been that people who come to our events, players that come to our events, are so passionate and supportive, and they love community and they love to share. And honestly, you want to sit there and let them talk about D&D for ages, like they'll talk as long as you let them. Like,
Yeah.
They're so
Absolutely.
excited that finally someone wants to hear all this stuff they've been learning all their life that no one ever listened to
Yeah.
talk about. So
Yeah,
this is the best way to
exactly.
get fully supported in that experience of learning how to play D&D and having some fun with it. Yeah, the only trouble is if this is your exposure to D&D, it's not going to be this good after. You're going to be like, where is V? Where are all my girls? Why can't we hang out all the time? Real life is
Right?
so hard.
What here again?
So fair warning, if you come, it might just be that much fun. I've also just been notified that V Dave is in the chat right now, and you mentioned,
Hello,
you're ready to
darling.
go playing with V Dave at the castle and in his
Yeah,
stream Black Race Society. So
yeah.
yeah, so come and play at D&D Weekends at our girls game with V. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, and I do want to say just a quick note, and this is on the website as well. First of all, you can come to the website if you have any questions. You can email us at contact@dndthecastle.com, or there's a live chat on the website. Love to get your questions if you have them for us or for V about the game, about the event, about the inclusivity and the definition of women that we are using for this event. It is open to all female identifying players to come and join us and be part of a girls' weekend. We would love to have you. So if you have any questions about that, you can email us, but know that we are open and welcoming to all the women out there who want to come play D&D. That's the prerequisite. You got to play D&D. So we're cuddles, cat cuddles.
Yes,
Yes.
this Cotton. He's my big guy.
Aw. Oh, lovely. So I'm going to ask you, V, as we come to the close of our
Yes.
interview this evening, and thank you everybody for joining us and
Yeah.
coming by to check out our D&D weekends with V, to lay out an invitation to all the viewers to come and join us at D&D weekends with you March 13 to 16 next year.
Awesome. So yes, please come and play a game with me and 3 lovely people so far, correct? So we
Yes,
have
it's half full
3
already,
more.
so if you're thinking
Yes.
about getting a ticket,
Yes.
definitely you
So
want to.
Cotton's gonna help me out here. So we have 3 seats left. Come and join us. It's going to be so much fun. It's creative, it's clever, it's silly, it's fantastic. It's an experience of a lifetime, and you will have memories and friends when all is said and done. So I hope to see your face there at the table on March 13th.
Thank you so much, V. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for chatting with us, V, and thanks for agreeing to be our dungeon master for this
Yeah,
first
of
time in
course.
this event. We can't
I
wait to
can't
see you
wait.
there. All
Yes,
right.
should be fun.
Bye, and bye, Cotton.
Bye.